The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
This is Media Mash, a roundtable of Cowboys insiders dropping wisdom and offering sizzling takes on the current state of your Dallas Cowboys. Now, your host, Steve Dennis.
If you a dog, you gonna be a dog. Latest quote from the Terminator, Micah Parsons, this week. If you a dog, you gonna be a dog.
Did he sound like that?
No, okay, that's my literal translation
I'm just making sure
of the quote. And it's perfect to start Media Mash on this Thursday. My name is Steve Dennis. I'm not a dog anymore. I don't know if I ever was one, but don't feel like one now. But I've got 3 dogs in the room.
You bark all the time and you scratch yourself, so I don't know.
You forgot slobber.
Oh.
I do slobber.
Cool.
Well, that's what we're going to do.
On this mic.
We've got 3 dogs in here, and if you a dog, you're going to be a dog. So today they're going to be a dog. Clarence E. Hill Jr. See, he's got the bark.
I'm a Q dog, though. It's different.
Got that purple on. And what's more, Nick, all the years, what's more obnoxious to you?
Okay.
Me and my Ohio State nonsense, or him and his Q dog nonsense?
It's not, first of all, there's no nonsense about Q dog.
Well, there's no nonsense about my Buckeye love either.
You said that.
Let him answer the damn question.
You said it.
Hold on. After you introduce Jory and everyone, I got a story that actually ties both of those things together.
You said it.
It's 20 years old. It's a 20-year-old
challenge your
story.
Buckeye stuff nonsense.
So introduce Jory.
Ain't no Q dog nonsense.
I might forget it.
Hey, dog number 1.
Ain't no nonsense.
Pipe it down.
Okay,
let's go to dog number 2. Nick Eatman, Dallas Cowboys. All media. Dallas Cowboys media. He writes on .com. He does everything. You're management now. You just, man. Talk about a dog.
Sound effects.
And I feel very awkward calling a lovely young lady a dog, but that's what Mike has said. If you a dog, you a dog. And, one of journalism's true young hopes right here, Jory Epstein. Hi, Jory.
Hi, how are y'all doing? Clarence took care of the bark for us. I'll stick to the bite.
Speaking to the mic, Jory.
There we go.
Clarence took care of the bark for us.
I don't know how to bark. All right, now,
Okay.
Nick, tie it together.
20 years ago, it was 2000 season going up to Arizona. And there you had 3 tickets. You had an empty ticket. You had 4 seats. You had 1 leftover extra ticket. Clarence, Jock Taylor, you were from Phoenix going to Tucson for Ohio State was playing Arizona. And I do remember this. We sat in row 90. There was the row in Arizona. It was up there.
It was up there.
And there was some lightning going on.
Did I
too.
get those tickets? Were those my tickets?
Yeah, you got bad tickets.
You got the tickets, and Ohio State wasn't doing that well.
Oh, we're getting our butts
And
kicked.
you said, let's leave because I know my team. They're going to lose this game.
Let's leave.
And they won. But on the way home, we left like halftime, and this is in 2000, barely internet, phones now. So you asked some guy for directions. You're asking him for directions, and he basically was like, I don't know, it's here, go there. I don't know, highway's somewhere over there. But Clarence is in the back because he sees his T-shirt. This guy's got an Omega T-shirt on, and Clarence has an Omega hat, and he's like, hey, man, hey. Finally, oh, my God. They go to the back. They go like 10 steps out. They start chatting or whatever. Clarence comes back. He's like, we're going to go up on McNeil. We're going to take a right here. The highway's there. Cool. There's a brotherhood there about that is amazing to me. It really is. And your fandom of Ohio State never fails. Their fraternity never fails. So I saw it actually connected there in one night.
All I heard from that is why did he ignore the white man and not give me the
directions? It wasn't a white man
directions?
thing. But anyway, it was a connection thing.
Okay.
But
I don't know about
the bottom line is it's not BS.
No, it's not.
And neither is my...
But
That's fine, but you invoke those words.
All right, I'm going to start with this today. We're going to have a lot of fun
Staying out of it.
from now until
your
5
word.
o'clock. The name of the show is Media Mash. You can find it every Wednesday and Thursday right here on DallasCowboys.com radio and on all platforms. Rookie Chris Beam, we're in his studio. That's what this is. It's Beamer's studio. All the shows all day long are controlled by the Wizard of Oz, Chris Beam, who I call Rookie. So if you hear another voice pop in from time to time.
And this is 6 of 6 here.
Yeah,
well, you could talk to Mickey.
So.
Well, we could talk to Mickey. I haven't talked to Mickey in a while. But
Parcells drops are the best.
They're awesome. Those 4 years were just
They're the best.
Awesome.
They're the best.
All right, let me give you this
I got
quote.
more from where those came from. Don't worry.
There's the Wizard of Oz piping in. If you hear, you know it's Rookie. Another quote. My favorite quote that I've heard in some time, and it's better than if you a dog, you're going to be a dog, in my opinion. Also from Micah Parsons. And to me, it was a very simple statement. But I want to start the show today with this quote. He said, quote, "I like doing it all. There are no limits." Now, if you just hear that, it's just, you could almost ignore it. But to me, it is a ridiculous quote from a young athlete. And I think it's different. Parcells, speaking to him, I had a conversation with him in the old atrium there when I'd sit there and everybody else would go to lunch and I never ate. And he would always walk by and we'd chat. And he was telling me about the young athletes today, and he said that you'd be surprised how many don't want to be on the stage. They're looking for a way off of it. That was Parcells' big thing. Not these days. These young kids, I like doing it all. There are no limits. I mean, what's he going to do? Is he going to play a little quarterback in his time here? Is he going to run the football?
He's already snapped it.
The man has no fear. He welcomes anything that comes his way. What an attitude this young guy has, Jory.
Yeah, I think physically and mentally, Micah is really all over the place. I mean, during the week, he's either meeting with linebackers or the defensive line. And then when he finishes with whichever one, he goes back and meets with Dan Quinn or senior defensive assistant George Edwards to catch up what he needed to learn on the other. In the games, we're seeing him line up in the same game as edge rusher, as a coverage linebacker, and mugging those gaps inside. So, I mean, he just is going. And one of the things he told us in that interview was extra only makes you better and only extra works. So to him, he's never going to see it as too much. And he said if he is thinking that, he's not telling coaches.
Is that too much this early to just go, I don't know any other phrase?
Maybe. It might be.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a good coach is supposed to kind of rein him in because, he doesn't know what he doesn't know. And right now what he knows is high school season, college season. He doesn't know about the 4 preseason games, which is even though you played in it or not, you're still preparing for it. You take some hits, and then you got 17 more after that. Maybe, so he can feel this way because he's felt this before. He's felt week 3, week 4, week 5. After Thanksgiving, when it's usually time to start off season or maybe prepare for a bowl, he hasn't done that. So that, we talk about rookie wall all the time, and they have to prepare him for that. I love the attitude, but the Cowboys have to step in and go, we've seen this before. You got to, kind of rein it in a little bit. You got to find a balance.
That's a good point. And remember, he didn't even play his last year at Penn State. He opted out. So much like Dak, he went a whole year without playing. Chill.
Yeah, I mean, the guy can handle it all. I mean, it's one thing to worry about giving him too much if it's slowing him down. And, I mean, that's what the Cowboys coaches talked about. He's not playing slow. He's playing fast. He's running quarterbacks down. He's reading things. He's clearly not overwhelmed. If they thought he was overwhelmed, they would pull some stuff back. You would see it on the field, but you don't see any of that. And again, I think that a lot of teams misdiagnosed him, thinking he was an off-the-ball linebacker. A lot of teams didn't know he could do all of this, and certainly no one really knew how good he was because he did just play 2 years. He did sit out last year. I mean, it's a godsend for the Cowboys to get this guy. And again, I would say that the Cowboys were lucky. They didn't want him. They wanted a cornerback. Let's be honest about this. They wanted a cornerback. They were banging their heads on the wall for one of those 2 cornerbacks because that's what they identified at the end of the season. We need a cornerback to improve this team, to improve this defense. It didn't work out that way. They fell into Micah Parsons, and they are gladly taking him, gladly using. The best thing about him was they fell into him, and they're using him, making him the centerpiece of their defense.
I still say, and I've been saying this for some time, I think it's the Tiger Woods effect. I really do. I think the whole generation of these athletes, the ones that are going to be great, they recognize themselves as great when they're 12 and never get off of that. I think Tiger taught him that. I mean, these young kids, so many of them are under so much pressure. You guys got to be nice to me today. It's my daughter's 19th birthday.
Wow. And
she's at Ohio State, and it's the first time we haven't been there for her birthday. But we talked today. She actually answered her phone.
Oh, wow.
And here's another example. This kid from South Lake Carroll, Quinn Ewers, is the kid that skips his senior year of high school. So she's got a class with him. What are the odds of that? At Ohio State, to have a freshman class with Quinn Ewers.
So did you tell her to get his phone number? I mean, he's going to make big money. He's already making $1 million.
I don't know how you raised your daughters, but my daughter can do whatever she wants.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
But she probably talked to him because she's from Dallas, and so is he. But my point is, he's another one of those guys. He's 17 years old. He's not... Okay, I'm going to give up my senior year, go make $2 million in endorsement, and I don't care. I'll be fine. You know, these young golfers these days, Jordan Spieth, Scotty Scheffler, I don't care. I'll be fine. It is a new attitude these days, and it just amazes me. That's all. I mean, 20 years ago, Parcells is talking, 25 years ago. No, not that long. 16 years ago, talking about how they all went off the stage. That's why he loved Keyshawn Johnson so much, because Keyshawn loved the stage. He goes, I'll fight with that guy.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Still does.
And then he would list you a bunch of Cowboys that he had on that roster that were trying to get off the stage. All right, let's talk about this real quick. Advantages and disadvantages of the week. Disadvantage for the Cowboys, obviously. It's a condensed week. 5 days between games, Monday night to a noon game on Sunday. They didn't even have a normal practice yesterday. And Carolina's just the opposite. They're going to be 10 days, Thursday, a week ago from today, and then to a noon Sunday game. Can this matter?
It's funny because I think that for sure you want time to get your bodies right, especially as the guys were telling us this week. You're always hurting even this early in the season. That said, for the Cowboys coming off their first home game, Dak's first home game back, they won by 20 points against a division rival. There's something to be said for rolling with it. I mean, there have been times when the Cowboys have had a win like this and then gone into the bye week and you kind of lose the momentum. So if I'm them, I'm glad I can get back out there to continue this as soon as possible.
And they got lucky that they really didn't have any new injuries in the game. It'd be one thing if you have something in the game and you got a short week to deal with it. The injuries that they had prior to the Carlos Watkins, help me here, Dorrance Armstrong, guys like that, which I don't know if they're even going to be ready for this game either. So they didn't have a huge setback there. But that was... I mean, no one's crying about it, but the schedule makers from start to finish, they didn't help. They didn't give the Cowboys any favors from this whole schedule. And this is another one. Why are you looking sideways? Your neck okay?
The Cowboys have the 31st ranked strength of schedule.
That's
I mean, I'm just saying they do have the 31st ranked strength of schedule. Let's be honest about that.
They didn't do anything. Those schedule makers, those people didn't do that. That's already set up.
I agree.
I'm talking about how it was structured.
Okay.
How it was structured. They started before everyone else. They did. They had 4 preseason games. Then they started early. Then they had a Sunday night game. Yes, Mr. Hill, speak.
The Cowboys wanted to start early.
He ever raised his
He
hand?
raised his
He
hand.
didn't raise a hand. He raised.
I'm just saying.
Is that what that smell was? I'm sorry.
Listen to me. Come on.
Listen, Johnny.
I feel you on this, but let's not go with start early. The Cowboys wanted to start early. That's the Cowboys. They want the circus. They want they want to go to California, then go to Canton, then go back to California. They also contributed to that stuff that you're talking about.
Who's they, though?
The Cowboys.
Jerry.
Okay. Jerry. That's what they want.
Okay.
So we're not going to use they started early as part of the schedule makers. I'm just saying that was on the Cowboys.
No, I get that.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay, good. So the Jacksonville game is what I'm talking about. You start first. You play the first preseason game, and then you play the last preseason game on a Sunday at noon, which is no one's ever heard of. And then you go and play the Thursday night game. I'm saying teams, the Buccaneers
But
had.
there was that half bye week.
They got a bye week. Everybody got. I mean, the last preseason game don't matter because everybody got an extra week off after that.
Yeah, right. But what I'm saying is then the Cowboys start on Thursday.
And they wanted to start on Thursday. They wanted their primetime game.
Also, I thought that was great for them. They got 10 days after their first game.
And then they got
10 days after that to get ready for game 2.
So, Chill, you're saying it's not an advantage for Carolina
this week? I'm sure, but it's early in the season. I mean, it'd be different if it was later in the season when your bodies were worn down. But at this point, I don't think it's that much of an advantage for Carolina.
All right, here's the advantage for the Cowboys, which they couldn't be luckier on this front. If you're going to play Carolina, play them without Christian McCaffrey.
And J.C. Horn at corner.
And J.C. Horn. But, they lost bang, bang. Both of them lost. McCaffrey maybe only for a few games. Horn's gone for the year. Made a trade for C.J. Henderson, who came up quite a bit in Cowboys draft talk in April of 2020. But Christian McCaffrey, I don't know how big of a disadvantage this is for Carolina to come into AT&T Stadium without him, because we all know Chuba Hubbard pretty well.
Yeah, he's good.
And this little rookie may do what Thomas Davis did last year, or Mike Davis, and just fill in perfectly for McCaffrey while he's gone. I think with his 4.36 speed, he could be a problem just like McCaffrey. You think I'm nuts?
No, I mean, speed-wise, for sure. What makes McCaffrey so dynamic is that he's just as much of a weapon in the passing game as he is in the running game, and that typically you need a little bit of time to kind of develop the chemistry with the quarterback and just how good how good he's going to be. So they're definitely going to be different, but athletic, from an athleticism standpoint, I don't think that they drop off much at all, if any.
Chill, I was looking over his ridiculous redshirt sophomore year when he ran for 2,094 yards, averaged 161 yards per game for Oklahoma State. Your Longhorns actually did a pretty good job against him. He had 37 carries, only had 138 yards. That surprised me. Way to go.
I don't know if that's backhanded compliment.
137, but I don't know there's a lot of.
It was the most carries he had all year.
He's not McCaffrey, though. Let's just be honest about that.
I don't know if anybody is, but McCaffrey's problem is because he's McCaffrey, he can't stay on the field.
No, because he's a running back, they get hurt. But yes, because he's McCaffrey, he can't
stayed on the field. Obviously, he hasn't been quite as productive as Christian McCaffrey.
Well, maybe but he was productive early. Maybe those carries and stuff are wearing on him. That's what we've talked about. But that's part of the life of being a running back.
Well, I don't think it's the carries with McCaffrey. It's the fact that his coaches always expect him to touch it 8 out of 10 plays. Yeah, the more times a guy touches the ball, the more chances of him getting hurt.
Well, he's not going to win any strongman contest. I mean, he's not the biggest guy. I mean, that's what Clarence, I think, is saying, is that he's, running backs get hurt. Big, strong, little guys, and, he's a wide receiver type player, that's running it in. I mean, he's like Tony Pollard to me, but a lot more dynamic. And I think if Tony Pollard continued to be the main runner, he'd get banged up too.
See, that's the point with McCaffrey that I'm trying to make. It's just the fact that they give him the ball every single play.
Yeah.
So his numbers, there's no other team in the league, no matter who's coaching at Carolina.
Right, the percentage of touches, snaps that he's getting the touch.
They just beat him to death.
The funny thing is that here we are with people saying, well, Zeke makes this much money. He should get all the touches. What's wrong with Zeke? He's sharing the ball. He makes too much money to just get 15 carries a game. Well, Carolina's doing what people want him to do. He makes all the money. He's their guy. They give him the ball.
Rookie, the volume level has just gone up.
I'm just saying, though, that's what.
Hope you're monitoring.
That's the yin and yang of this whole thing, though, because we're kicking Zeke's butt. Now everybody's asking Amari about his touches, and he didn't get the ball. Are you unhappy? You only got 4 touches. You're making $20 million a year.
Yeah, we talked to Kellen about that this week, and what is the ideal split between Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard? And he said there are going to be games where you got to grind it with one of them, but in his ideal world, they're each getting double-digit touches to keep that balance and to keep fresh for the 17-game season and beyond.
I think the Cowboys duo of Zeke and Pollard is going to be great. Anybody who complains about it from Zeke's point of view or Pollard's point of view, to me, is looking for something to complain about. Speaking of that, I did hear the question that was brought up to Kellen this week, comparing the duo to Ingram and Kamara. So Pollard is now Kamara?
Well,
we've taken
what they drafted him to be.
We've kind of taken a jump, haven't we?
That's what they drafted him to be. Like that was the example we kept hearing, and on that day of the draft was we think he could be like Alvin Kamara. And I mean, He is starting to show that a little bit. I mean, Kamara is on a different level though, because Kamara is built different too. Like he's got those legs. I mean, he's churning, and he's a tough inside runner because you can't find him for a second. You got to figure out where he is.
Skinny legs, and he's one of those guys who's lucky. Not knocking on whatever. Because he hasn't
knocking on this metal.
Thank you. He's a slight guy, but he doesn't get banged up like McCaffrey.
I think he's compact, though. I mean, I really do. I don't think he's that small of a player.
Yeah.
That might be the 43 that
he's
wearing.
slinky. He's slinky is what he is.
Okay.
Or wiry is what you would call him.
Wiry?
He's wiry. Careful. I'm wiry. What? So you think C.J. Henderson has any shot to play for Carolina in Horn's stead after the fresh trade? Anybody hear anything?
Maybe. I mean, you're a corner. You'll cover your guy. Like I understand. You got to make sure that the coverages are right, but if they're going to play some man, if that's what they do, I think he can do that. If he's ready, he should be in shape, should be ready to go.
All right, we've got Jory Epstein, we've got Nick Eatman, we've got Clarence E. Hill Jr., we've got Rookie monitoring the audio levels in case Clarence has another spasm. Coming up next, we're going to play a quick game of buy or sell. You're listening to Media Mash on DallasCowboys.com radio.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar. And a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
There's nothing as unique as our eyes, which is why Essilor pioneers ways to make lenses as unique as you. Verilux for super sharp vision, Essential Blue for protection, and Crizal for freedom from glare. 3 cutting-edge solutions in a single unique lens. So whatever your needs, insist on Essilor. Visit your local Essilor experts and find the perfect lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor.
Back to Media Mash.
Zooming along on this Thursday afternoon, Cowboys back in pads today as they have a condensed week for the noon game against Carolina. The noon game is so odd these days. It used to be the mainstay, and now it just feels weird for a noon game. Steve Dennis along with Jory, Nick, and Chill. Let's play a game of buy or sell. Let's see how this goes. What do you guys think? You in? Chill, you paying attention?
I'm paying attention. I've got you. I'm ready to go.
Item number 1. I'm going to throw it out. I'm going to ask you if you're buying or selling. You guys can go in whatever order you want. And don't dominate. Chill, okay?
I'm sorry. I won't.
Don't get all dominant on me. Number 1.
I'm a dog.
Number 1 is all about Matt Rhule, who is the coach of the Carolina Panthers. We know him from his days in Texas. He's actually playing back-to-back games against Texas NFL teams after his years at Baylor. All right, here's the setup. He started 1-11 as a Baylor head coach, ended up taking him to a top 10 ranking, went to a Big 12 championship game, went to a Sugar Bowl against Georgia. He started 5-11 with the Panthers. He's off to a 3-0 start there. This guy is a legitimate turn this thing around head coach. You buying or selling?
I'll buy. He's a good coach. He's trying to be the Texas State champs, like Arkansas. Arkansas is Texas State champs. Trying to be Texas State champs. Beat Houston, beat Dallas, Texas State champs. They put T-shirts. They got a T-shirt in Arkansas, I'm sure.
I like that.
Got a T-shirt. I mean, yes, he's a good coach. I mean, what he did at Baylor, what he's doing now, how he has that team playing. He's a good coach. He's a solid coach. He can rebuild a program, but it don't matter. It's about winning championships. So this all sounds well and good when you're rebuilding a team and there's no expectations. The question is, what are you going to do when there are expectations? That's the mark of a great coach. That's the coach that keeps his job.
I don't think Carolina was that. I think they were one of those teams, sort of like the Chargers, where they didn't make the playoffs, but they were pretty good the last couple of years. So I think he's come in. He's got a dynamic player. He's figured out ways to win. He did a nice job there. I think he did a good job at Baylor. I don't think the cupboard obviously wasn't bare, but he did a really good job.
That was just
there.
Everything that expected the program for him to go in there with all of that stuff that was swirling.
Right.
Because that could have been a dumpster fire. And
it was at first. It was at first, and he did a good job of turning that around. But I think for the most part, he's got NFL ties too. Like when he's an NFL coach, he's going to play. Their defenses are going to be tough, and I think that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, I'm buying too. We talked to Coach Rhule this morning, and he was telling us, he said, we're just a bunch of blue-collar guys who love coaching young people and trying to get the most out of them, leaving places better than they found them. And I think that's obviously easier said than done, but he did that at Temple. He went to Baylor, which was a bigger program and a program with a lot of challenges that a lot of guys wouldn't have been able to turn around, and he did, whether he got to the number one spot or not. And I think that he has continued to show growth with Carolina, and that's all you can ask. Like Clarence said, he has to continue doing that, but I think that he seems to get these cultures of the organizations in place and allow these players to go out and play their best football.
I'll tell you one thing though, if Carolina wins Sunday, should we second guess Jerry? Jerry didn't want one of these young coaches. He wanted one of those college coaches. He didn't want the Lincoln Riley's or the Matt Rhules. He wanted a guy that could win now.
If he's in the NFC Championship game and Jerry's not, then I think it's fair to
or if they have a better record, whatever. I'm just saying, you could say that the Cowboys, McCarthy came in with more to work with than he did. Mm-hmm. And he's having to find a quarterback on the fly. You can't lose to Matt Rhule.
And and to your point about Carolina, it wasn't dead in the water.
No, but they didn't have a quarterback.
Last time they played here in Dallas was on Thanksgiving. They were busy going 11-0.
Yeah.
On to Cam Newton's MVP year.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
It wasn't that long ago.
Well,
Cam Newton's out the league. That's a long time ago.
6 years ago.
In NFL, that's a long time ago, sir.
There's probably 3 players on the roster from the Cowboys. Maybe.
Yeah.
And they're not playing.
In those terms, it is a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time
But I do think on that question of second-guessing Jerry, that's such a memory to me of the whole Garrett getting non-renewed when we were calling it that in early January 2020, McCarthy coming in, Rhule coming in, and when we got that news that the Panthers were hiring Rhule, I think his name had been floated around, but a 7-year contract for all this money? It was a little bit surprising how all in on them, how all in on Rhule the Panthers were, and I think he's proven to them that he can do something.
Well, he very quietly just seems to do what he does.
Yeah, he's not a big name, but Jerry likes the names.
Yeah, but also look at what did Carolina have before Rhule? Rivera? A coach that's been around, he's done it, older guy, that's very established. They wanted some that new blood. What the Cowboys they had a guy very similar to Matt Rhule that had just been here for 9 years, and Jason Garrett, and kind of stuck with them. I think Jerry wanted a guy that has won a championship.
Well, he always goes back and forth.
He said that. He wanted to prove a guy. He didn't want to start with a college coach. But, this college coach is not having the growing pains of some other college coach. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
This guy's a pretty good coach.
Who would you, forgetting how they currently...
Because Lincoln Riley was also in that conversation.
Yeah.
Forgetting their current knowledge of these teams, if you guys were going out to start a new NFL team, who would you take, Mike McCarthy or Matt Rhule?
Rhule doesn't walk by my office every day.
Good answer.
I'm going to punt until Sunday.
Jory, you're mean. You're mean trying to get Nick to say something.
Who would you take?
I would take Matt Rhule. Next,
there you go.
Number 2,
take the hit.
7 straight games with 2 or more takeaways by this Cowboys defense, longest streak going in the league.
Can I just pause on that one?
That they're getting credit for not being in the playoffs, essentially.
You want Matt Rhule and Sam Darnold, or you want Dak and McCarthy? Because that's, I mean, they
go
together now. They go together because all the success that McCarthy had in Green Bay, a lot of people think it's because of another person. So if they're tied together, I'm taking Dak and whoever that is.
You guys know I have 5 of these, don't you? I mean, we got to get to number 2.
Go.
We spent all our money on
Watch
one.
Watch this. This is going to be quick.
Can I get to number 2? All right, we're talking about the takeaways that the Dallas Cowboys are coming up with. Dan Quinn said they don't come in bunches. So he believes that this is going to be normal business for not the doomsday, but the Dallas takeaway defense. Buying or selling?
I would say this, and I guess I'm not playing the rules. I think that coaches, when they don't get takeaways, that's their go-to. Or they come in bunches. They come in bunches.
That's what Quinn said.
That's what when you don't get them, that's what you say. That's what they said around there for years when they weren't getting them. They haven't been getting them in a while. I think the Cowboys did a good job of going to get guys with ball skills who have a history of taking the ball away. Guys with ball skills take the ball away. And so I think that if you look at the guys they have, they will get their hands on the ball and take the ball away from them. Michael Parsons is going to force stuff to Trevon Diggs, who has a knack for taking the ball away. He took the ball away last year's rookie. He actually, admittedly, we will agree with him, he probably dropped 4 or 5 last year.
Pop quiz. What draft was it, which was the draft for the guys that had the knack of taking the ball away? Remember? What year was that? 2000. It was Campo years. When they Hamlin was one of them.
Hamlin?
They didn't draft Hamlin.
No, not Ken Hamlin. The other Hamlin, Michael Hamlin.
Stop.
All those guys in the draft.
He was like a 7th round pick,
and none of them were here the next year. All corners and safeties. Remember?
2009.
Okay, check this out. Check this out. Who was still running that front of the scouting department back then? That was Lacewell?
Lacewell,
okay,
yeah.
Stop.
I also just want to note that...
Now you're going to go after Lacewell.
I'm not, but I'm just, come on. You're talking about an 8th round pick in Hamlin, whatever.
All of them. They had ball skills, is my point. They drafted them for that reason, and they all failed.
But
I don't think you draft guys that have, quote, ball skills.
No, but we're not talking about just drafting guys. We're talking about the guys that got in free agency who have a history of ball skills in the league.
If they had a real history, they would be making more than what they're making.
No, but Jerry's a businessman. He always has been. He's always going to look for value, and his value was because he was banged up, but he had made plays.
Yeah, but even Donovan Wilson going back to A&M, he has ball skills. They do have ball skills.
Donovan Wilson.
But hey, Jerry did this last year. Jerry looked for value in free agency, or the Cowboys looked for value in free agency last year. It went terrible.
You buying or selling? The Dallas takeaway defense.
I am buying, but I agree that with Quinn that's saying that they come in bunches. I think the key problem word there is come, because no, you have to go get them. They're not just coming to you, and I think that's what he's trying to teach them.
You buying or selling?
I'm going to sell it. I think they do come in bunches, and I'm just going to wait and see before I think that
we're getting Nick in all kinds of trouble today.
No, I'm at first I thought there was an email going on at first, and then now it's like, oh yeah. So I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna sell it.
All right.
Oh, man.
Guys with ball skills.
We're gonna go to commercial.
Jordan Lewis finds the ball.
Right.
You know how many guys that they've come through here saying that they have ball skills, and we never saw them.
Byron Jones never had ball skills in college or here. No.
And I think we're not saying that these guys are all going on to Pro Bowl years. Like Trayvon Diggs is on his way to a Pro Bowl year. That said, they have ball skills. They also let up a ton of deep plays and a ton of yards in the passing game. And so, the Cowboys are just saying we'd rather have that than a team that can stop them but not take the ball.
All right, number 3, Carolina's defense. Let's talk about that. They're number 1 after 3 weeks in all defensive categories. Yards per game with 191. Rushing yards allowed with 45. Passing yards allowed with 146. Sacks with 14. Third down percentage, 21%. And they're number 2 in points allowed. But against the Jets, Saints, and Texans. Are you buying or selling the Panthers' defense as one of the top defenses in the league?
Selling.
Yeah, I'm going to sell. I mean, I'd like to let it sit out there for a little bit before I want to buy it and, maybe look at it through the window. But if you're making me, sell it right now, I'm not buying it because because of the quarterbacks that they face. They just haven't. They haven't. And the running back, too. The running backs that they face. I think this is going to be the most complete offense that they've faced, and they'll be challenged more.
And I think the Saints game is kind of an asterisk because they had so much going on. They're here. They got displaced.
Their coaches all had COVID.
Seriously, the coaches had COVID. They're missing a couple of players. They're still playing without their best receiver. They haven't faced a real offense yet.
I think that this is really going to be a measuring stick for both sides because the Cowboys are like, okay, we know we can beat this Eagles team on Monday night handily after just getting away with the Chargers win. But what can we do against a defense that's hot? And then the Panthers, too. What can we do against an offense that's hot?
I think that's a great point. I made the point yesterday that there hasn't been this much excitement at an AT&T Stadium game since the playoff win over Seattle, or when they started 3-0 in 2019.
Meant Monday, not this coming Sunday.
This last Monday.
Okay,
yeah, I'm sorry. Or when they started 3-0, they beat Miami to get to 3-0 to start the 2019 season, and then they lose 3 straight, beginning with that 12-10 loss in New Orleans against that defense. And Dak's offense was totally shut down.
Yeah.
That's a little scary. But this Carolina defense, you talk about a no-name defense. Brian Burns, Morgan Fox at DN. Derek Brown, Daquan Jones inside on the D-line. Shaq Thompson, Jermaine Carter, Hassan Reddick, who's got 4.5 sacks. I mean, now, Boye we've all heard of in their secondary, but Jackson, Chin, these guys, nobody's heard of these guys.
We've heard of them.
Well,
we've heard
for those of us that cover all the teams and watch them.
But unlike
you know what I'm saying.
Unlike that Saints game.
Kuechly?
Gone. Yeah. Gone, Johnson.
Unlike that Saints game when the Saints had a cornerback that kind of shut down I don't think they have the players to shut down the Cowboys offense. They certainly don't have a cornerback.
I think Jory makes a great point that we're going to see.
They just lost their best cornerback. Who's going to cover the Cowboys receivers? And Dak is great against the blitz.
A.J. Boye is pretty good corner. He's been around the league a long time. He's not great.
The Cowboys have more than one.
And Amari's had a couple of quiet weeks. I think it's time for him to go off on Sunday.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and again, he wasn't quiet on purpose, though. I mean,
he was efficient.
I know, but
we're not going to get into another Amari discussion.
No, but he wasn't quiet on because he wasn't quiet on purpose.
No, but the game plan didn't feature him as heavily, and I think this week it will feature him more. Well,
because as he said today, they play more man. There will be opportunities down the field.
Number 4, as we play buy or sell here on Media Mash, the phrase, quote, "He's as pure as mother's milk," end quote. You buying or selling?
I don't know if he's pure. He's a dog. Ain't no dog pure.
The quote. Are you buying or selling the quote?
I'm not buying the quote because he's a dog. The dog ain't pure. He's a dog. He hunts.
No, Amari's route running is pure. The Tony Pollard in the open field is pure, and maybe even the way that Trayvon Diggs covers. But the way Micah Parsons plays linebacker or defensive end or center / running back or whatever.
It's nasty. It's violent.
No.
Jerry, are you buying this quote?
Yeah, I'm selling too, and I think that Jerry also was saying this in relation to character who is on and off the field. But I did use it in my lead for tomorrow's story, so if I sell it, can I still keep it in my story?
Well, first of all, it's an odd quote. Never heard it before.
That's what Micah said.
Which is a Jerry staple. He comes up with stuff, you go, what? But nobody knows how pure mother's milk is because when we enjoyed it, we certainly don't remember.
Okay.
So I'm selling this quote. Okay. Selling it.
Yeah, Micah Parsons.
He's a dog.
If Micah Parsons is milk, it's that milk that's in the back of the fridge. It's been there for 3 months, lumpy.
He's a nasty junkyard dog. He ain't pure, and they don't want him pure.
Number 5, Osa Odigizua. 1.5 sacks against Philly. Been good since he hit the field here, right? You guys have all been reported. 3rd-round draft pick.
Buying.
Will he
Yep.
not give up his starting tackle spot?
Not giving it up.
Back to another 3rd-rounder, Neville Gallimore, when he returns healthy. Buying or selling?
Buying.
Ever finish a sentence? I mean, could you even
Well, I don't.
try?
He just decided he wants to go before the question comes out.
I was feeling it. You know, it's funny because I was, really.
He was feeling
it.
He was digging it.
You know what? I was driving. As I was driving, I was walking down the stairs. I was just thinking about that, and I was thinking about it.
I could see Clarence driving downstairs.
I watched a clip of Osa in the game. He and Leighton made a tackle, and they were showing. You see videos, everything. And I was just thinking about that, and I was thinking about Neville. Really, I was thinking about this, and my thought was that what we've seen from Osa these first 3 games are better than anything we saw from Neville last year.
I don't know if I agree with that just yet. The sample size is small, and also the fact that the teams that they have faced, Tampa Bay, the Chargers, and then the Eagles. Nobody's running the football. No one's even trying to run the football. I just think. Let's go to Minnesota. Let's face them. Let's see what happens to a team that's really trying to run downhill, and that's what the biggest problem the Cowboys have had. So I agree with you. I think he's playing outstanding. I'd like to have them both out there together, but I don't think they've been tested from the run game just yet.
I hear that, but I don't think Neville's calling card is run stopping. He's the 3. That position is 3 technique.
Okay.
It's that.
Yeah, but somebody's got to stop the run.
That's what that wide nose guy.
Then forget the Neville comparison. Let's just see. It's a little early on Odigizua for me, or any of those defensive tackles, because nobody's really trying to run the ball yet. But let's see what happens when they do.
He's buying. You're kind of selling.
I'm going to sell for now.
Yeah, I'm not ready to buy yet. That said, I do agree that I think that Osa has shown us stuff, and I think sometimes we overuse the term finish. But when you look at what Osa was doing on some of those plays, when he's running all the way back downfield, the ball's gotten past him. I mean, I do think his speed, his athleticism, and
he's
so
nimble.
I agree that I don't think that Neville has shown us what he's shown. I also think that the chemistry that Osa and Micah are putting together on the field can't be underestimated. Like the sack they had together, there were a lot of things that went right on that play after. I mean, Randy, I think, lost his balance, tripped, and Micah's jumping over him to join Osa. I think that things like that, you can't underestimate what they're going to do for the defense as a whole being on the same page.
And my thing is this, and I like Neville. I think he's a good player, and I think they have something there. He had a half sack last year. I mean, this whole offseason of, he's going to be on the come. We don't know what he was going to be. They were acting like in training camp that he was going to be this dominant 3-technique tackle and fix their 3-technique tackle.
Would you ever play them together? I mean, I can't tell what to do.
Passing downs, you could. Passing down, but we don't know. He was solid because he had to come in and play because what they thought they had when Tristan got hurt and all that other stuff. But he has a half sack for his career.
I do find it interesting that when you guys were interviewing Odigizua, he was talking about gaining weight, but he wants it to be muscle, and he looks at himself in the mirror every day, and he hadn't been able to notice a difference, and Chill made it all about himself. He goes, yeah, that's the way I do it when I'm trying to lose weight.
You heard that. He went. You saw that.
That's what he heard.
And then
he didn't know who said it until that.
And then Odigizua kind of made a face and went, are we done?
Yeah, what's wrong with
It was an ender. It was the last quote. They tell us one more question. It was an ender.
I do think that another thing is it's not like if you're trying to get on the field as a receiver on this team, like if you're trying to get in the defensive line rotation, none of these guys are staying on the whole game. It's the difference between starting and being a second man is like, 60 versus 40% of the snaps at best.
True.
So you still have an opportunity for Neville, absolutely.
All right, let's take our final break here on Media Mash. When we come back, how do we think Kellen Moore game plans these supposed bad boys on defense? Next.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. Before you can park yourself in front of the game, park yourself in a John Deere and power through your chores. Our Land Run package is a 1025R, 25 horsepower tractor with a loader, rotary cutter, and a box blade for $229 a month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay, no surprises. So don't miss another kickoff.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now let's get to work.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way.
Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10
free shipping.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
Back to Media Mash.
So glad you're with us here on Media Mash on this Thursday. I have a feeling that Clarence and I are going to go at it again on Amari Cooper if we're not careful in this segment.
You're
Maybe
a hater.
not.
Don't be a hater.
Not being a hater. I just need more than three catches from him and 4 targets. I don't care reasons. I don't want to hear reasons.
See, that's the problem.
But
they won by 20.
That is the problem.
They won by 20.
I have some issues with that too.
Yeah,
I have some issues.
Well, I think we're about to talk about Kellen Moore, who is the reason for this, aren't we?
Okay, well, maybe.
Or maybe Dak's the reason.
I think it's sometimes the top corners in the league are more the reason for it.
That was not the reason the other night.
That's how him and I.
That's ridiculous.
We got into it off the air, but we've done that before. No big deal. But let's get into this. All right. Final thing to mash up here on this Thursday. The Panthers, statistically, again, number one against the run and number one against the pass, whether you believe it or not, with their no-namers. And with Horn now out, who's maybe their third best defensive player, what does Kellen Moore do here? It seems like every game so far this year was pretty simple to call against the defense they were playing. You've nailed all 3 of them. What do you think is the way to bite Carolina?
They're going to go up top. Mari gave us the game plan today already because you weren't there.
He's not supposed to do that.
Well, again, what you don't want to believe after week 1 when they throw too much. I said they designed the offense based on the way the defense plays. Okay.
Yeah, Garrett used to say stuff like that.
I'm not talking about Garrett. He did not. Anyway, okay, listen to me though. But the bottom line is
what we do.
The last team played 2 high safeties. Okay. They invited the Cowboys to run the ball. They invited the Cowboys to throw on the knee. They were not going to give up the big play over the top. So that's what they did. That's why Dak's completion percentage is through the roof because he's doing this or doing this. This team likes to blitz. They play man-to-man. So their plays downfield. That's what they're going to do. They're going to beat them up with their receivers downfield. This will be a throwing game.
It's about who strikes first. If they can strike first, I think they can run on them as well. I mean, I really do. An aggressive team. This is an undersized defense. They play fast. They want to play very, very fast and run to the ball. So I think this is one that you might want to see some runs, inside runs, overpower them a little bit, and also take chances with that. You can still throw the ball deep. I mean, you're gonna have 60 plays. You can do a little bit of everything. But I think they can kind of pose their will on them.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but with the blitz though, the big play is there. It won't be like we got to be patient and we're going to have methodical drives. If they're going to be blitzing the way they blitz,
right,
you have a chance to strike big and score fast. Right. That's all I'm saying.
And Dak can extend the play. We've seen him do it, and he enjoys it. He's good at it. They've been doing all sorts of scramble drills and extending and that type of thing in practice. So I think we will see that. But I think also what's great is that, yes, they're going to go into this game with a game plan, and they're going to be prepared. But they're not going to really know till they get there. And I think that that's where they've thrived. And that's what Matt Rhule was saying about Dak today, is that he's calling the game at the line of scrimmage at such a high level with his mastery of the offense. And we're going to see what Dak, through the lens of his mastery, does when he gets out there based on the defense.
And you caught me. The Garrett comment was about anything cliche was typically what he would come out with, is what I meant. But you're right. He was stubborn. Yeah. And not with that cliche. Let's reverse it. What do you think Matt Rhule's thinking?
Right. I mean, that's what I was going to say. I mean, this is a really good defensive coach. And so, what they've shown on tape, he knows he's got to come up with something different as well. So it's always going to be a chess match here.
Well, the problem is that on defenses, though, if you're a man-to-man team, you're going to play man-to-man. Yeah. If you're a blitzing team, you're going to blitz. If you're a zone team, you're going to zone. I mean, so
you can come in and out of it, though.
I mean, most coaches are what they are.
They do extra days. They've had those extra days.
I know, but they do. But they do what they do. I mean, they do what they do best. I mean, and you try to match it to the personnel and the scheme, certainly. But you're going to do what you do.
Okay, but that being said, what are the Cowboys on defense, though? What does Dan Quinn? I mean, what would you say that they do? They
play man to man. Let them tell it. I mean, if you watch the game, they're guarding guys. And they're playing more man to man.
They play all nickel and dime. It seems to me.
Yeah, but they're manning up with the players.
Yeah, I think if I'm Matt Rhule, I'm trying to get to the interior of that line because we saw Tyler Biadasz not hold up as well as he might like on some of the plays last week. And yes, he was going against some great defensive tackles, but when they had the defensive touchdown and Dak's fumbling in the end zone, I mean,
can we give Tyler some flowers just once? He had a bad play.
Two.
He had two bad plays.
It's 14 points.
They scored 41.
Okay, but your center just cost you 14 points because he got pushed back and he also couldn't push 2 inches.
I agree.
And I don't know about the other plays.
Look, and by the way, Vita Vea ran over him, too.
Vita Vea runs over everybody. Have you watched him?
Not everybody.
But
what I'm saying
you're
is,
right.
How many plays you said happened in the game? 66?
I agree that
they were able to move the ball with Tyler. Yes, he had a couple of bad plays, and Connor Williams had 3 holes.
They
okay, and they were still able to move the ball.
We hadn't gotten to him yet,
and they were still able to move the ball at will.
Right, so it's not that Tyler can't do anything, but if you're Matt Rhule saying where is the closest thing to a weakness when the receiving core has Amari and CD and the running backs, you've got
and by the way, when the entire team is getting, how'd you put it, flour? The entire team is getting flour. He's
flowers,
whatever you said. Nick's not allowed to criticize one guy?
No. I'm just saying. Actually, I mean.
Since we've quoted Parcells the whole thing, I mean, remember when Parcells would say, sometimes the center position can hold you hostage.
Yep.
And, I don't know if that's happening now because you're right. They ran the ball. They did some things, and they ran it up the middle.
They did a lot of inside runs.
A terrible game, but his brute strength,
there's no question that he's a bigger weak link than Connor Williams. Let's be honest.
I don't think Carolina has a corner good enough to play Amari Cooper man-to-man. And I think Coach Rhule is smart enough to know that. I mean, is Boye's the only – I don't even know their other corner with Horn out unless C.J. Henderson plays.
I'm just saying that teams are who they are. If you're a Tampa 2 zone team, you play Tampa 2. You do what you do. You're just not going to – you cannot mix and you draft guys. You find personnel to play the scheme that you like to play. If they're a man-to-man team – and they don't practice zone like that, they're not going to be good in the zone. Even if you say, we're going to play zone, well, that don't mean you're going to be good at it. You're going to still have holes in the zone.
I think you can be a little more versatile than that if you're a good coordinator. But anyway, all right, let's get to this question. If Carolina shows ridiculous backbone in this game, and it's middle of third quarter and the Cowboys' offense isn't doing much, what is that going to tell us, if anything? Or even if the whole game goes that way. If this is a 17-13 outcome, one way or the other, and all of a sudden, for the first time this year, Dak and his maestro abilities is getting shut down, what is that going to tell us? Anything important or not?
Tells you that the Saints and the Bucs and the Falcons need to worry a little bit because they're in the same division with a team that's got a really good defense. Because I don't think the jury is not out on the offense. This Cowboys offense is a really good offense. It was a good offense last year when Dak was there, and it's been really good this year. So if they come in and do that, then I think we're going to know. I mean, no one is surprised really the Cowboys offense is good. The Panthers are surprising people, and this is their first big test, like Jory said, and I think that it'll show that they're passing it. And maybe the Cowboys need to come down to earth a little bit on their offense because teams can shut them down, but I think it'll be more of a statement for Carolina.
I think on the Cowboys offense, though, even though I do believe Kellen Moore is a superior play caller to where he was a couple of years ago, we had a couple of years ago where Kellen started out hot. I think it was that Giants game, Dak's finding, who was it, like Tavon Austin or something like that?
Yeah, that was the problem.
For a touchdown early. I mean, there were some great plays, and it seemed like Kellen was getting this offense in sync, and then down later in the year, I mean, whether it was the opening drive or the red zone, it wasn't sustaining. And so even though I do think that I'm not expecting Kellen to show us a drop off, but I think Kellen being able to sustain this for 4 or 5, 6 weeks instead of just the first few. And Mike McCarthy likes to talk all the time about the unscouted looks. I think the Cowboys offense needs to show they're still going to be this effective.
I think you're talking about Garrett's last year, right?
Yes.
Got to be, because the year before they went to the playoffs. People keep forgetting, at the end of that year, Amari and Dak were hurt. That affected the play call. That affected their ability. Dak was throwing last 3 games had one arm. People
was it the one he was throwing with?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? People forget that. Amari was hurt, and they were not that affected the play calling.
I agree.
The Cowboys won't have a problem against Carolina.
But I think what's interesting about this year is obviously Dak's health is so crucial and so not something you take for granted. But what's different now versus what we've seen in previous years is we're not using these like DeMarcus Lawrence is hurt as an excuse. It's not Michael Gallup, so now they don't have a passing game, or they can't do anything with Terrence Steele for La'el Collins. And Zeke was talking about that. He's like, you got to give credit to the front office that the depth is actually working as it's supposed to the last couple of weeks. And so
the depth and the coaching. I mean, Terrence Steele has been coached up. There's no question about that. That losing that, your right tackle, that would last year certainly would have held them hostage. They'll be having to limit their offense because they'll have a tight end to stay in, to block and help out, and they're not doing that sort of stuff. So give them credit. I mean, I think the first of all, Kellen is a much better coordinator than he was 2 years ago.
Yes,
with all the experience, and this offense with all their weapons is just have so much more talent than they did then.
Yeah, you said 17-13. What happens if we're, talking about that kind of game? I mean, let's not forget the Chargers game. I mean, they started out hot, but then they got kind of, figured out, and they hit a big wall until the very end that they got to 20 in the final seconds. So, I mean, it's not like they just ran over the Chargers for 4 quarters. The teams, good defenses can figure them out a little bit, and but that's the one where I think every game is its own identity, and that game was one that both defenses were going to kind of bring it.
Do we think that the Panthers have a chance to be the Chargers? I mean, are they on that level? Because I think the Chargers are one of the best teams in football.
I think
and they're going to prove it. They just beat the Chiefs. Just keep watching them.
Well, I mean, that's they needed a big test.
I think the Chargers are going to go a lot farther than the Panthers, but I think the Panthers are going to definitely surprise people, and I think they're going to have some wins like the Chargers just had against the Chiefs, where they beat some really good teams.
Well, let's see how the Panthers play. They haven't really played anybody yet. Let's just see what they do.
Yeah, this is an interesting game.
I trust the Cowboys and Chargers' success over what the Panthers have shown me, because they haven't played anybody. They played a Saints team that obviously has some issues.
And typically, and don't get mad at me for phrasing it this way.
If even you're starting it that way.
Well, no, I believe that the end had to come for the Garrett era. Typically in the Garrett era, when everything was going great, there was that game that stopped them. And this could be that game. Now, it's not Garrett anymore. It's a new coaching staff. But things are flying high right now. Oh, we got 3 home games, and then you go to New England. They're not that good. Oh, 5-1 at the bye. All that.
Yeah, there's always, I say this all the time, there's always 2 to 3 teams every year that just surprise you, better than you thought, and 2 or 3 teams that are way worse than you thought. And, this year, is it Carolina? Could they be that one?
And we haven't even talked about Sam Darnold, who surprised the world when they were 0-4. And beat the Cowboys. What was that one?
92-yard touchdown.
24 to 22?
24-22, yeah.
October 2019.
Yeah.
I mean, that may have been the most shocking loss in the last, I don't know, long time, decade.
There were some problems going on.
And Darnold played really well in that
game. And more athletic.
He wasn't supposed to, though. He wasn't supposed. He came up into the first game back. It was because of the Cowboys.
I'll say this about Darnold.
And I know what you're going to say.
He's athletic.
We haven't even talked about this kid. I saw him play at AT&T Stadium when he was at USC. He got killed in that game.
Who did he play?
I'm not going to say. Why would I be there if it wasn't them? But
Auburn.
I thought it was going to be you. I thought it was going to be House.
He got killed in that game. He got sacked 1,000,000 times. Kept getting up. Kept making throws. That is a tough kid. These people who doubt him, when he gets the rest of it put together in his head, the toughness is off the charts. So he'll stand in there against whatever the Cowboys bring.
I think he gets criticized as much in Charlotte as he does when he was with the Jets.
No, he's loving
It's a little bit of a different market.
He's loving it. He's playing well.
Well, he's playing well, and like I said, he's an athletic quarterback. He's got more rushing touchdowns this year than he's ever had in his whole career combined.
And it would be unfair not to give him credit for what he's doing, to just say the pieces around him are better. But I think that in this league, you need more than just a quarterback, even though the quarterback's the most important position, obviously, like by most people's estimation. But I think he's given a chance now.
Yeah, he's no Dak Prescott.
He's not surrounded by dysfunction anymore.
All right, 2 questions, and then we got to go. Real quick answers. Did you guys hear that Brady's going back to Foxborough this weekend? Have you guys noticed?
I've heard that. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Who's going back?
They're calling it.
Where's he going?
They're calling it the game of the decade. We have lost control.
Do you know that NBC is doing some, they're doing a Today Show and their nightly news from there?
Oh, my gosh. What is with coverage anyway? Don't get me started. Secondly,
Mr. Hype.
Is there a chance that Urban Meyer in Jacksonville gets a win tonight? Or are they going to lose all 17?
Nah, they didn't lose all 17.
They're going to Cincinnati.
No, I think they're going to win like one.
They're losing
to
Cincinnati.
Do you think they're losing to Cincinnati?
They're losing to Cincinnati.
Is this one they could win?
Yeah, this is one they could win.
They're losing to Cincinnati.
They probably will, but I mean, usually after 3 games, I mean, you kind of figure it
that
out.
damn receiver of LSU that was dropping all those balls in the preseason.
He can play.
He's a bad boy.
He can play.
He's not pure as mother's milk.
And I'm
4 touchdowns.
We all said no to that quote. We all sold it. And by the way, speaking of LSU receivers, Cowboys fans worry about Terrace Marshall, who is the Panthers' 3rd wide receiver. And when you watch him play, ask yourself, does he look like Michael Irvin in a Panthers uniform? What an athlete.
Yeah.
If he becomes a factor with DJ Moore being shut down a bit by Diggs, that guy can play. He's going to break out one of these weeks. You'll see. All right. Hey, you guys, thanks for letting me talk Cowboys with you for an hour. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you again soon. Let's go watch that game and see if Urban Meyer can win one.
Are we watching that game?
I'm going to watch the game. Everybody have a good night. We'll talk to you next week.
This
has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?